We're going to continue working on this 79cc Predator small engine. This is the reassembly process, so continue watching to see what we're doing in this one. So at this point we have the entire bottom end of the engine assembled. The crankshaft, the piston, the camshaft, and the lifters down inside of here are all together. We're going to continue by the next step. I'm going to put the flywheel on. Now, while installing the rest of the engine parts, I already put this keyway back in. And the way that I'm going to put this flywheel on is kind of a little bit different than what a lot of people are going to do. I'm going to go ahead and rotate the engine in the direction that the nut is going to tighten up, and I'm going to bring the piston up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and put this block of wood inside the cylinder, take my cylinder head, no gasket or anything yet, just put the cylinder head, line up the dowel pins maybe, take our bolts, snug those up, and I'm not going to torque these yet, I'm just going to snug. So they're just a little bit more than hand tight. And now what that's going to do is that block of wood is going to stop the piston from coming over center. The block of wood is going to get between the cylinder head and the piston and stop the engine from rotating. So from there what I'll do is I will take my flywheel, look at where the keyway hole is in this, find the key on the crankshaft, line it up, and this should go on with no play, no slop. It should be a nice snug fit. This controls the ignition timing of the engine, so it's pretty important. I rolled it over, I can just feel it stop there. That's where the piston, there, that wood is now in the way of the engine rolling over. That wood is a nice soft piece, so it shouldn't damage anything. Figure out which way my fan goes on. Just like that. Take our recoil cup. And it fits about the same in either spot, so it doesn't really matter which way that goes on. Take our nut, install our nut here, now I'm going to torque this center nut that holds the flywheel on, and I've already tried this and kind of stripped one of these flywheels out. These are not very high grade, so I tried to do it to, I think it was, if I remember right, I tried to go to 40 foot-pounds, and it will not hold that, even though if you look up what the size and all that is, you can't torque it. So I've got this set to 25 foot-pounds. I'm going to try that. And honestly, if it feels like it's going to start to slip, I will stop. But as we're putting this on, it is setting the taper of the flywheel. Does this thing work? That is more than 25 foot-pounds. That's definitely too much. Alright, so basically I don't trust this torque wrench whatsoever. That is fairly tight. I don't know what it should actually be torqued to. So go ahead and tighten that down pretty good. The block of wood will hold it. If I get a torque wrench here that is actually useful, I'll try this again, come up with a spec that seems to work pretty good, and we'll go from there. In the meantime, this stuff is all pretty tight. I'm gonna back the motor off just a little bit, take my head back off. Pull our head back off. Retrieve our block of wood that we used to jam the engine up. This dowel tried to go with it, so we'll put that back in. Make sure your head mounting surface is nice and clean. Make sure your gasket that's been reused a bunch of times is nice and clean. There is a hole here that's got to line up with this oil passage. If you don't do that, you'll blow up, well, you'll damage the top end of the engine and probably have a pretty bad leak. Put that back together. Okay, so now that I've got the head all cleaned up, this gasket is clean, I'm going to go ahead and set the head back on. Take our bolts. Okay, now the torque spec on these by size and strength is 24 foot-pounds or 288 inch-pounds. This torque wrench doesn't really go that high, but it goes to 200, and it's the only one I even remotely trust. So I'm going to go ahead and under-torque these a little bit. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, all right, so just to kind of show you why I don't trust these torque wrenches, and the more of them that I try, the more I realize nothing in this shop is working right. This is set to 200 inch-pounds. That's roughly 17 foot-pounds, just under. This was set to 25 foot-pounds. When I tried to tighten the flywheel bolt to 25 foot-pounds, I was putting about as much pressure as I could and hold everything down to get to 25. This, I just torqued to 17 foot-pounds left-handed. Okay, not left-handed. I'm not left-handed. So I just did this left-handed with virtually no struggle on a beam that much shorter. Clearly this is not working to 25 foot-pounds. So that's why I did that. So these are under torqued. If you have the right equipment, 24 foot-pounds, 288 inch-pounds, and I believe that's 30 Newton-meters. So this will be fine for this engine for how long it's going to run. And for the demo, I'm just going to tell you, torque it properly. I did not. I gave you the right numbers. I didn't do it. So that's going to be it for installing the flywheel and cylinder head. Up next will be the valve train and then the coil. But we'll do the valve train as its own video because there's a lot there. So keep watching and we'll keep putting this back together.